it would be untrue.
It's 9:48 on your home for the best live local coverage of the Broncos and the NFL. Denver Sports Station, Sports Radio 104.3 The Fan. Sandy Clough with you earlier this hour. Bobby Valentine from NBC Sports in the baseball playoffs. More baseball talk at 10:30 with Seth Everett this morning. Obviously, we'll get into some Broncos-Jaguars as well at that point. Still a lot of reaction coming out of the PBS Frontline documentary the other night entitled League of Denial, the NFL grappling or failing adequately to grapple with the concussion issue. Had a tremendous amount of reaction yesterday, and we are pleased to bring on right now to the Sport Clips MVP hotline Gavin Attwood, who is the Executive Director of Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado. And he joins us now on the Sport Clips MVP hotline. Gavin, good morning. We spoke to you, as I best recall, right after Junior Seau's death, and that's a big part of this documentary presentation by PBS and the Frontline program the other night. What was your reaction, first of all? We'll get to the medical aspects and whether advances have been made, if the NFL is coming around or not. But what was your reaction to the program generally as you watched it the other night?
Yeah, hey, Sandy, thank you so much for having me on again.
Certainly.
Yeah, you know, I was captivated by the documentary from start to finish. I thought it was very well put together, and I think they had a very important message to get out. It's something that the NFL certainly has on their radar very clearly now, and we'll see how it plays out.
Are you one who is more inclined to be optimistic about the NFL being open-minded now, however it got to this point, now on the right track, as opposed to pessimistic as you look at that documentary the other night and understand the history and how they seem to have rejected a lot of the research done by mainstream scientists? But are you more optimistic now looking ahead that the NFL is starting to see the light?
I am more optimistic. I think that it's been forced upon the NFL that they need to take this very seriously. We talked before about some youth sports laws as well, and it's kind of now filtered up to the professionals. So, no, I am optimistic. It's a pity it took, the NFL dragging and screaming to this point, but it's an emerging science, I know, but it does seem to be a link between CTE and the repeated concussions that football players can get.
One of the questions we posed yesterday to a couple of the experts we had on was the question that I think the NFL, in all fairness, has raised, and appropriately so. Why do conditions that seem to be similar affect a given person, whereas another person seems not to be afflicted or affected at all? If you put the two side by side, they go through similar playing experiences, exposed to the same kinds of forces, and CTE shows up in one and not at all in the other.
Yeah, they did touch on that during the documentary. Right. They said there were a number of facts that could affect why one person would get CTE, the condition, or somebody else would not. I would say, though, that the Dr. McKee, she said that of the 46 players' brains she had studied, 45 of them had CTE. But like I said earlier on, Sandy, this is an emerging science, and the NFL has made that clear, and I don't think anyone would deny that. It is an emerging science. But then science is always emerging, whether it's cancer research or MS research or CTE research, it is always an emerging science, and you can always make better statements as you get more information and there's more research done. Having said that, looking at this initial body of evidence, like I said before, it seems clear that there is a link, and it's very good that the NFL is going to take this seriously.
We talk about other sports, particularly hockey, in conjunction with what the NFL is doing. Hockey, another collision sport in which concussions have been a major topic for discussion and examination over the last few years. And I thought this was interesting. I wanted to ask you about it. A New York Times story today headline, Researchers Press for a Broad Ban on Hockey Fights. Researchers at a Mayo Clinic conference on concussions in hockey called this week for a ban on fighting at all levels of the sport 8 days after a Montreal Canadiens enforcer was hospitalized because of a fight on opening night of the NHL season. The Hall of Fame Canadiens goaltender Ken Dryden, reacting, said, "Science has responded to the game on the ice. Now it's time for the game to respond to the science." Would you say, Gavin, the same thing about football? Science has responded to the game on the field. Now it's time for the game to respond to the science, and merely replace hockey with football in that statement.
Yeah, I would, and I don't know what that looks like. I'm not sure what the NFL might be able to do to respond to this science. That's something for the researchers in the NFL to figure out. What I would just say, though, is that there's no doubt that the NFL and football and concussions has been sort of the lead story. That sport has been the lead story. But let's be honest, that's not the only sport where concussions can occur.
Exactly.
And it would seem that the other sports, such as hockey that you bring up, it will flow down to hockey and boxing, possibly.
Yes.
So we were very careful when we successfully passed the Jake Snakenberg concussion law, the youth concussion law in Colorado a couple of years ago. We were extremely careful when we were talking about this issue not to single out football. It's not just aimed at football, but having said that, football is this, clearly it has a link and clearly it's very high profile. But the other sports absolutely need to consider this issue too.
What of the role, and we'll let you run on this, Gavin Attwood, our guest again on the Sport Clips MVP hotline, the executive director of Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado. That's BIAcolorado.com if you're looking for more information. It's a terrific organization. Gavin has joined us in the past. But looking to the response yesterday that we got, a lot of people said both what you just said, hey, other sports are involved. Why is it left to football, the National Football League in particular, to provide the only kind of leadership on this issue? Other sports are confronting some of the same challenges, and they aren't being examined, scrutinized in the way the NFL is. The other part of it is, what of the players' responsibility here to educate themselves? What of the responsibility of an organization such as, Gavin, for example, the National Football League Players Association? What is their role in all of this?
Yeah, I actually saw the same article that was written about the Players Association.
Yes.
I think everybody has a responsibility. Everybody. I think the Players Association, the NFL, the players themselves, and you know what? The families of the players as well have a responsibility when they start to notice some of these cognitive issues, or they start to hear about players saying, well, actually I really did get a pretty solid hit to the head, but I need to go play again next weekend, whether it's any sport. Everybody, the media as well, clearly has taken this very seriously. So it's a broad responsibility across the board.
Gavin, it's always a pleasure. We don't enjoy the subject matter necessarily that brings you on, but we certainly enjoy you commenting on it and others we've spoken with over the last couple of days. It's important for all of us to be more educated, and as one of the educators, we appreciate your time and your insight today. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, Sandy. If I could just very quickly say the website is BIAcolorado.org.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Thank you for the correction. Appreciate it. That's Gavin Attwood, Executive Director, Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado, on the Sport Clips MVP Hotline.